Then I heard about this thing called the Ocean 7. So this came out by a chap called Steve Munatones, who was very well respected in the open water swimming world, and he said these are the hardest 7 swims on the planet. He gave reasons why, and I thought, well, that would be a great challenge. You know, you've done those 2. And Hawaii was on there, and I thought, what a great swim. Hawaii must be easier than the other 2. It's much warmer, you know, it's Hawaii. So I took that on next, and that was the longest of all the 7, 26 miles. English Channel and Gibraltar around about 21 miles. So that's what I decided to take on. And I started around about 6 in the morning, and the reason I started at 6 in the morning, we met up at 3:30, was because we had to start in the light. We had to wait until it went light because of the sharks, because obviously it's, you know, it's shark bound at the nocturnal, so we waited until it was light, and then I started to swim. And I got 8 hours in and thought, God, you know, I can see land. You know, I'm 2 miles from land after 8 hours. And the worst thing ever happened. The pilot said he's going to break the world record, which is 12 hours. And from there I started to go faster, and I went backwards for 3 hours because of the currents. So I literally just went straight backwards and probably lost another 2 miles. 13 and a half hours in, it started to go dark, and I had a light stick that's tied to me that, you know, obviously so they can see me, and I thought I better turn that off because of the sharks, and so I turned that off, and a kayaker actually came in off the boat to support me, you know, for the sharks, and within 2 minutes of him coming in, I then had the most horrific pain that I've ever felt in my life, which I didn't know what it was at the time, and it turned out to be a Portuguese man-of-war. It left terrible scarring across my stomach, but I lost feeling in my spine. I started to, again, be really, really sick. And all I could think was, if you're going to paralyse me, at least let me finish this flipping swim, because I've just been out here 13 and a half hours. Anyway, in the end, it took me 17 hours, finished, cut my leg on a rock, and the kayaker said, wow, he said, you see that tiger shark? It was 5 metres away from you when you walked out. So that was not the most pleasant experience, it's fair to say. And
was that the worst you've had out of all of them?
Yeah, I've had some pretty difficult times, yeah. But I think that was the worst for the sheer pain that I was in. And when I was actually stung, it was, how do you get through 3.5 hours of agony?
How do you?
I knew you could ask me that. You know, again, you know, experience says you've got through 2 of them. This is another challenge. And I thought to myself, look, Adam, if you can get through this, you can get through anything. This is a real test. What are you capable of? And I guess, you know, most people would get out and quit once they have that kind of pain and go to hospital, which is what you should do. But it was too important to me. I thought about, again, how far I'd travelled, you know, how much effort I'd put in, the fact that I may not have another chance to do this ever again. And I thought, you know, just stay with the programme, and all these devils, and there was lots of devils this time, all around my brain telling me to give up. And I said to the kayaker how long to go, and he said an hour at the time. I thought, I can't do 2 minutes here. And what I did was I built up lots of 2 minutes. I can do 2 minutes, fine. I can do another 2 minutes, another 2 minutes. It was supposed to take an hour, and it went on for 3.5 of all those 2 minutes added up, which is a lot of 2 minutes. Yeah. But I remember standing on the beach in disbelief that how I'd got through it. But it's the best thing that ever happened to me, because now, what else could get me? You know, it can't get much worse than that.
The Best You Store, helping you do more, achieve more, be more. Store.thebestyou.co. The Best You Online. Featuring in-depth interviews, motivational talks, and inspiring masterclasses from the world's top experts, motivational speakers, business gurus, and thought leaders. Leaders and influencers from all over the world are here to share their knowledge and skills with you. With over 500 speakers, The Best You Online is a priceless mine of personal development wisdom, knowledge, and practical information to help you take charge of your life and take you, your business, and career beyond where you have always wanted to go. The Best You Online.
The Best You Store, helping you do more, achieve more, be more. Store.thebestyou.co.
In particular, obviously, a lot of people that are starting, they're either trying to reinvent themselves or their lives, either because they want a new start or they lost their jobs. What would you say the best things to have, know, or be aware of are in order to do that, to be able to reinvent yourself?
Well, I think before you reinvent yourself, I think you need to really come to a conclusion of what has happened in your life. And I think the best conclusion is always to look at your life and say, look, this is the things I've learned from it. These are the challenges I had in that time of my life. I forgive myself for the challenges I created. I also forgive the people that have co-created the challenges with me. Because I don't think you can reinvent yourself and start all over if you don't really say thank you to what you have experienced before. Because I've gone and reinvented myself a few times in life, but you always have to go back and say, look, all right, I learned it. I will take from it what was beneficial for me, and I will really focus now on the future. So that's the first step.
Tell us about The Secret, because obviously that was kind of like a big step into your career and you becoming such a global phenomenon. How did that come? How did it all happen?
Yeah. Well, it was actually the third meeting of our Transformation Leadership Council that Jack Canfield had created. And a few weeks before, I had this dream that a woman, a blonde woman, would come to me. And she said in my dream, I'm from Australia, pay attention when I come in your life. I'm like, okay. So I woke up with that dream. And so 2 weeks later, I'm in Aspen, Colorado, and I'm at the back of the room. I was still very shy, to be honest. All these amazing people. I felt not worthy, to be honest, to be there. And so I'm sitting in the back of the room. There's one place left, and this woman shows up and said, "Hi, I'm Rhonda Byrne from Australia." I'm like, "Oh, there you are." I said, "What are you about?" And he said, "Well, I'm doing this interview for a movie."
Hey guys, sorry, we're running a little bit late, so I just wanted to jump in very quickly and welcome my next guest. Welcome, here we are, the Best You Expo Day 1 Virtual Expo in Dallas. So I have my next speaker, Doug Vermeeren, who I'm going to bring in, and then I'll do a very brief intro, and I'm going to give him the floor. Doug, how are you?
Good to be with you, Bernardo. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you, Doug. Sorry, we're running a little bit late. You know what speakers do sometimes. They just go over a little bit.
It happens.
It happens. We've been running a little bit late in the afternoon. So I'm just going to do a very brief intro on Doug. But Doug has been a supporter of the Best You for quite a few years now. He's literally extremely well connected, knows everyone in the industry, but he's also very congruent. He's got a great reputation, as I said, phenomenal connections. But he's number one in what he does. So Doug is personally interviewed business leaders and companies like Nike, Reebok, Fruit of the Loom, FedEx, American Airlines, UGG Boots, Uber, KFC, and many other companies. He's also been an ABC television and Fox Business refer him as a modern day Napoleon Hill. His training programs share strategies of how to connect with the highest level of achievers and how to expand your network and grow your business. Obviously essential. A lot of coaches and trainers in the industry are great, but they don't necessarily know how to create the revenue. He's an award-winning entrepreneur. Training programs have been well, basically rated among the best in the world. So, Doug, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. And of course, it's always good to support Best You. I'm a believer.
Well, thank you so
You're doing
much.
great work.
Thank you so much, Doug. And the floor is yours. Take care.
Excellent. So today I want to be of most value. My goal is to be of most value to share with you, I think, the most important thing that an entrepreneur really needs, the number one thing. And I guess maybe to kind of start with this session, I want to share that I think that most of the people who are probably tuning into this session are business owners. You have a business for yourself. You've started a business. You're running a business. And so I would imagine that most likely and very often you use the word entrepreneur to describe yourself. Now, the thing that's interesting, when I think of the word entrepreneur, maybe I kind of think like you think. I look at what's being portrayed there. So the few things that I think when I think of entrepreneurs, number one, freedom, right? So you probably became an entrepreneur to get that freedom. And if you think about it, you've been looking for things in terms of freedom of time. You want to do what you want, when you want. You also want freedom of money. The finances are going to be coming in so that the finances are there. You want to have the freedom of choice, the ability to choose the opportunities that you want to be involved in and the places you want to go, the traveling you want to do, and all of these things. And maybe even to some extent that talks a little bit towards the lifestyle that you've been looking to create. But freedom is definitely one of the key things that we always think about when we hear the word entrepreneur. Another thing that we kind of think about is the term recognition, right? And I kind of have to laugh because as an entrepreneur, I'm now doing over 8 figures per year in my businesses as an entrepreneur. But it's really funny because my mother can't explain what it is that I do. So maybe that's partly a challenge that you have as an entrepreneur, that your loved ones don't always kind of get it. So there's a really, how should I say, I think an important feeling of recognition that we also crave as entrepreneurs. There's a status element. There's the accomplishment that we want to be looked at as a pioneer, someone who builds things on our own terms, someone that's in control of our destiny. And I'll be honest with you, it feels really good when we've done a good job to receive validation and admiration from people who recognize that we're making a difference, that we're doing something great. And naturally, as an entrepreneur, it always feels good when we walk into a room, especially of our peers, fellow entrepreneurs, and we can feel as though we've accomplished something great, right? So that's part of the dream. The last thing I would suggest that I'm going to talk about today, although there are many others, is the idea of influence. And that's something that's talked about a lot, especially online right now. It seems like the word influence is showing up all over the place. People who are influencers and people who are, creating a difference. Now, I want to just maybe suggest that my definition of influence might be just a little bit different than what we currently use to describe the social media influencer. I believe that influence, one of the other reasons maybe you become an entrepreneur, is because you want to create a legacy. There's an impact that you want to create. There's an impact not only on the culture, but the community. Maybe there's even charities that you want to give back to and help support. One of the groups that we support in my business is the Children's Hospital. And I know Bernardo's originally from the London area there. We actually have supported the Great Ormond Street Hospital in London. Where I'm from in Canada, we support the Alberta Children's Hospital. But every city that I go to where we do events, we try to support one of the children's hospitals in the area. But the other, I guess, influence and area of contribution that I think most of us as entrepreneurs got into this business for is to be a positive, awesome influence for good to our customers. We want to be able to make a difference for them. Now, the interesting thing is although this is kind of what we see portrayed a lot in, let's call it the entrepreneur marketing, the entrepreneur lifestyle, this is what people want. While this concept and the outcome of what we really want to create as entrepreneurs is correct, this is what we want, the way to get there, that accessibility to achieve this, I believe is actually very misunderstood and often incorrect. So let me share with you what I mean by that, because if this is what we want, we have to follow a correct path that's going to allow us to have these things in the end. And I think this is where a lot of the tools for entrepreneurs today are lacking. Okay, so here's something that's kind of interesting. We're going to talk about this a little bit more about how we arrived at this information. But right now, there's a lot of entrepreneur programs or individuals that are suggesting that hard work, and I'm also going to maybe write long hours, hopefully we can see all that there, are the key to entrepreneurial success. You've heard people say that you've got to hustle, you've got to grind, you've got to become part of the 5 a.m. club and wake up early, you've got to stay up late, you've got to work your weekends, your evenings, your holidays, you got to work while others are playing or partying or enjoying life, and every spare minute needs to be blocked out to create success. While I agree that there can be times and moments of hard work and long hours, I'm going to suggest that one of the big kind of faults that I see is there's a lot of people saying, again, work hard. However, they're not really telling you what to do. They're not really giving you the idea of how do you build a successful business. They're just saying that hard work and long hours are the key. And I'm going to suggest that that's actually an incorrect view of productivity. In fact, something that one of my mentors shared with me, which I'll share a little later, is something called the funnel effect. The funnel effect is the idea where at the top of the spout, you see it quite wide, right? So if we do more, if we meet more customers, if we spend more hours, if we put in more time, et cetera, it's always going to equate to more. But the truth is in real life, it doesn't. It actually generates less in the end. So what we want to create instead, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute, is we need to find a better way. We don't need to do more. We actually need to become more focused, more brilliant, and more expertise so that our results are more. It's not a matter of doing more. It's a matter of doing the right things. So this first idea of hard work and long hours, again, I know there's lots of people out there telling you that you need to hustle and you need to grind and you need to, spend all this time. It's incorrect. It's a lie. It doesn't work. So let me share the next thing that I've heard is that if you'll just work long enough and have patience, right? You've heard that. Or if you'll just persevere long enough, right? That it will come together. Keep at it and you'll get it, right? Learn from your mistakes and you'll get it. And if you leave your comfort zone, it'll come together. You just got to get uncomfortable more. And they tell you have no fear because the sacrifices will pay off one day. Well, I'm here to tell you that that's also not correct. I know a lot of people who've been busting their head against the wall for a long time. And it comes to that old saying that if you want to see a sunset, it doesn't matter how fast you run in the opposite direction, you'll never see it. So I don't want you to get out of your comfort zone. I want you to get into your brilliance zone. I want you to understand that just being patient and having perseverance does not guarantee success. In fact, a lot of times having patience when you're on the wrong path can be detrimental. In fact, I was talking with a friend of mine the other day who was looking to head to a destination and he accidentally mistyped it into his GPS. So he was heading down the wrong road. And he just felt that if I just go long enough, that this road will eventually put me in the right place. I don't know if you've ever had an experience like that where you've been going the wrong way and you went too long in the wrong way. It didn't really pay off in the end. So I think that that's something that we need to recognize, that patience is not the key to success as an entrepreneur either. There's a final one I just like to talk about today, although there are many others, and that's some people think that one good idea is all it takes. If I have one good idea, I will be successful. Or if you kind of help other people enough, they're going to give you what you want. You've heard that probably. And don't get me wrong, I love Zig Ziglar, but there's the quote that people often quote saying, if you help enough other people get what they want, you're going to get everything you want. But the problem with that is that often takes a lot of time. Sometimes there's also people who you give to continually and they become takers and they're never satisfied. Maybe you've even got customers that are like that and you're kind of running a babysitting business rather than a business, because no matter how much you give, they've still got their hand out for more and there's not a fair exchange of value. So I want to suggest that these are not the correct ideas for building a business to the next level. Now, with all this in mind, if it's okay, I'd like to maybe just share a little bit of my background. The truth of the matter is I have made all these mistakes. I have worked very, very hard and I put long hours in at the beginning of my business career and it didn't pay off and it didn't give me the results. In fact, just like you, there were times where honestly I made sacrifices where I put my family on hold. I put special events on hold. There was a little bit of an ongoing joke in my family that if there was Thanksgiving or big family holidays, that people couldn't count on me to be there because I chose work over the family activities, right? The same thing with the patience and the perseverance. I actually used to, make a lot of business mistakes, but I would persevere and I would keep going. In fact, there's a saying that I've heard, what's the difference between tenacity and stupidity? Well, tenacity is someone who bangs his head against the wall and realizes that doesn't work, and then they try and find a new spot. They'll even get help. They'll even get people to teach them. But a person that's stupid will bang their head in the same spot, and even though it didn't work, they'll bang their head again. And if someone comes to teach them or share them, they don't listen. They bang their head in the same spot. And so I was kind of like that. I thought I knew best. You probably also heard the saying that you can be right or you can be rich. Well, at the time, patience and perseverance, I would rather be right. And I guarded my ego. And so therefore I didn't make any progress. And then lastly, of course, I did think I was just one good idea away. I also thought that I could serve my way to success, that everybody that I went the extra mile for would appreciate that and honor that. Now, don't get me wrong. I still think it's important to go the extra mile and to serve, but we also need to understand that we need to have proper systems in place, and we need to have support to be able to serve effectively so that we're not burning out, trying to, again, babysit people that, quite frankly, shouldn't even be our customers. So here's the deal, is I was frustrated with that. And when I was a young man, someone invited me to read the book Think and Grow Rich. And as I read it, I really recognized that there was a couple of key principles in there that I needed to bring into my life to get to the next level as an entrepreneur. And one of them is, you've heard the idea that your network becomes your net worth, right? But before it becomes your net worth, it actually becomes your safety net, right? So I decided to go out and start interviewing some of the world's top business leaders and entrepreneurs wherever I could find them. And I met with them personally, and I began to understand the differences between why some businesses end up very small and are often irrelevant or overlooked, even if they're great service providers, and these people are, they're hard workers, and they persevere and they want to give the best. And sometimes there were really good ideas among these businesses, but they wouldn't go anywhere. And I really began to see there was a difference between businesses who were sort of handicapped or held back versus those that were able to go to high massive levels of success and to create high profitability. By the time I was done, I had interviewed more than 400 of the world's top business leaders and entrepreneurs. As Bernardo mentioned in my introduction, that includes some of the people from Nike, Reebok, the Aveda Group, Christian Dior, Jordache Jeans, Gitano Sportswear, Uber, California Citrus, Ted Baker, UGG Boots. The list goes on. FedEx, everybody, right? KFC, all the big companies. And I discovered some really intriguing things that helped me to understand how to go from a small business to a large business. Now, since that time, I noticed that that this theme was repeated of what I'm about to share with you, this secret of how to get to big business. It was repeated again and again and again. But there was one specific meeting that I was in that really made it crystal clear, and I'd like to kind of share that with you. So again, when I was about 19 years old, as I was meeting these world's top business leaders, there was one individual in my network who was worth about $300 million. And I wanted to start a business. And so I thought, who better to ask than this gentleman? And I'll be honest, when I first went to him, I was kind of hoping he would fund the whole business and become one of my angel investors, and that he would give me all the tools to be successful. But when I met him and sitting across from him at a lunch, I simply started asking questions. And I said, how will I find my customers? How will I do my marketing? How will I get the distribution for my product? How can I do the manufacturing? How can I raise capital? How can I, and the list of questions went on. And I'll never forget that he just gently raised his hand and he said, I can see you're going to start a very small company. And I was a little bit offended because, probably like you, when I set out to be an entrepreneur, I wanted to do something big, something grand that would make a difference. I said, no, this is going to be a big company. This is going to be huge. And again, he kind of shrugged and said, well, I can tell by the questions you're asking, you're going to start a very small company. Well, now he had my curiosity. I needed to know what was it that I had said that indicated my company was going to be small. And so I just asked him, I said, what is it? What have I done? And he said, you're asking selfish questions. He said, most entrepreneurs that create small things always ask questions like, how will I find my customers? How will I do my marketing? How will I, etc., fill in the blank, fill in the blank. He then revealed to me the key to creating large businesses. He says, if you wanted to create something big, what you need to do is shift gears from asking the question, how can I, or how will I, to who? Who can help me find my customers? Who can help me sell them? Who can help me build my marketing? Who can help me, etc., etc. The key is, again, to shift really from being a solopreneur to being a true entrepreneur. You see, most people don't understand that that word entrepreneur is really one who coordinates the efforts of others rather than tries to do things on their own. In my business, we actually call that a squad. And I'll talk a little bit later about why we use that term squad. But I've always found it very interesting to notice that an individual solopreneur tries to do so many things by themselves. And maybe that's because they're afraid that it'll cost too much money to hire outside. Maybe they're afraid that they'll lose control. Maybe they're afraid, again, that someone can't do it as good as them. And if this is you that's doing this, I want to share from personal experience that as I shifted from that selfish questions, the how can I, and so forth, so many of these things that we talked about as an entrepreneur came back. And I'm going to write those on the board because I want us to just remember what they are, right? So this is the wrong answer. Here's the right thing. This is what we all crave: the freedom, the recognition, and the influence. Those are the things that I mentioned today, that as I began to find people to be part of my squad, all of a sudden my freedom returned. I began to expand in bigger ways. My recognition of what I was achieving was expanding, and so was my influence. So I want to share that something maybe just to think about. There was a study that was done not too long ago that said that the average solopreneur can effectively serve 5 people. As soon as they get to 5 people, their effectiveness begins to diminish. And maybe you've experienced this in your own business, that once you get to about 5 clients, everything begins to diminish. Now, the interesting thing about that is if you can only stop at 5, if 5 is really your level, you can imagine that that does put a limit on your freedoms. That does certainly stop how many people can recognize you for your good work and how many you can affect, right? If it's only 5. And same thing with influence. It immediately limits your influence. So I think we've got to really recognize that what an entrepreneur is. And by the way, here's something interesting for you. The word entrepreneur, the origin of the word, the beginning of the word, actually comes from a French word that meant the director of a musical institution, like a conductor. And so most people build their business not as a conductor, but as a constructor. In other words, they feel like they've got to oversee and create every little detail. They've got to be the technician, if you will. They've got to be the worker. They've got to be the employee. So they're not really true entrepreneurs. Whereas if you look at a conductor for music, oftentimes they can have many people in their orchestra. They also can control the volume of various things and the output of certain things and the accents of certain things. So they actually haven't lost control. It still very much reflects their personality and their interpretation of what's going on. Even if a piece of music is given to them, same as an entrepreneur playing in a specific marketplace, it's their interpretation that now appears with them as the conductor as they build this squad. So I want you to think of that a true entrepreneur is really a conductor of a team that isn't limited to 5 customers, but it's a team that can now scale literally to infinity without limits, which means now that your freedom can expand to a situation where there is no limits. In fact, as I mentioned, now I have an 8-figure empire. So we're doing, I think this year we'll do, probably by the time we're done because of COVID, we'll probably do somewhere between 14 and $15 million. But here's the interesting thing about that freedom part. With my squad, I've generated that in approximately 6 to 10 minutes a day of work, right? So finding the right squad can make a difference. Obviously, the recognition, it's still me that is recognized for that. It's still me that is the pioneer at the head of this organization. It's still me that's the leader. I kind of like to look at it as a musical album, like a CD, right? There may be lots of artists that are playing on that CD, but it's really me that's getting the credit as the artist. Think of this, and whether you're a fan or not, it's irrelevant. But just think of someone like Justin Timberlake, right? If you were to pull the liner notes on his CD, you'll see that he doesn't play all the guitars or the keyboards or does the backing vocals, or he doesn't do all that, but it is his name on the cover. So I think it's really interesting to notice that as an entrepreneur, you will still be recognized for the work you do, even if there's others on the team that do a lot of the heavy lifting on your behalf. And then certainly influence. You know, one of the things that has really been astonishing to me is I've gotten people as part of my squad and built my business. You know, I have a very limited understanding of certain things. I'm not a jack of all trades. I actually have very specifically not chosen to not get out of my comfort zone. In fact, instead of trying to find things to be uncomfortable with, I've looked at what I'm really good at. What am I brilliant about? I've looked for ways to step inside my comfort zone, and really my brilliant zone is maybe a better way to describe it, and get really, really good at just a few things. And then I've delegated everything else, right? And as I've done that, I've been able to find people that are extremely gifted and brilliant at things that, quite frankly, would just take me too long to learn and too long to implement. It's interesting that as I observe entrepreneurs around the world, and I've had a chance to teach and work with many, I found that there's a lot of them that, quite frankly, because they're trying to do everything, really take something that is their brilliance, what they're really, really good at, and they immediately diminish it by now trying to go out and learn, for example, marketing, or how to build a website, or how to take care of their taxes better, or how to do, and they diminish their expertise because they're trying to be so many people to so many things, they're trying to be so many things to so many people. One of the other things I think is a good analogy that we might want to look at is if you think about a professional athlete. Now, I'm from Canada, but I know I'm speaking to people mostly right now in the United States. So let's use football as a good example, because we both got that, right? Can you imagine if a football player in the NFL actually had to, in addition to playing the game, be the person in charge of cleaning the uniforms, of stacking the helmets, of loading the tour bus, of finding the travel and accommodations, of making the arrangement to sell the tickets to all the people in the stands, and also, of course, to televise the game and all of these other things. Can you imagine the quality of his gameplay? Well, that's exactly what some of you are doing with your business. You're trying to do so many things that your brilliance, the gift that you are, the gift that you've been given, has been so diminished that you're blending in with the rest of your marketplace. And you're creating products that people, frankly, just don't care about, because you're not really caring about it the way that you ought to, because you're caring about so many things, right? It's almost like this idea of a magnifying glass in the sun. Remember, we're trying to burn a hole. You've heard it said a million times before I brought it up, but focus is the key to success. Finding that fine light to really burn in a very magnified, concise, and very fixated way, that's what success is going to create. And we've all admitted that, but very few of us are living it. Now, I want to share with you something interesting to think about. Now, what elements do we need to get a squad behind? How will we know who these people are? How will you know where you fit? And by the way, this is interesting with people writing the word entrepreneur, because it's a French word. People that I encounter generally struggle to know where to put the you. But I think that's also indicative of their business. They don't know where you are, right? You don't know where to put you, right? So that word entrepreneur is very, very fitting. So let's talk a little bit about knowing where to put a squad, how to build a squad, how these squads can help you. And the truth of the matter is there's really 4 key areas that we need to look at. One of them, I'm going to continue in blue. One of them is, again, the business structure, and I'm just going to call it operations. This can include everything behind the scenes for running your business, whether it's the legals, the tax aspect, accounts receivable, all of these things, right? But in addition to that, there's the areas where your business starts to connect with the outside world. So how are you telling people about you? This can include such things as your brand, your marketing, the advertising that you're running, and so forth, right? Next, how are you selling people, right? So how are the transactions able to be created? Do you have a sales team? Are you selling it yourself? Do you have sales materials? How are you lead generating? All of these things. And lastly, service. Once you have a customer in hand, how are they being taken care of? Now, the interesting thing is with a squad, we can build a system. And systems either arrive in 2 ways. For all of these things, we can either automate them or delegate them. Those are the only 2 options that you have. So a squad is really being able to identify the different aspects of business operation, branding or marketing, how you're going to tell people, sales, and service. Now, it may be very easy to dismiss this idea and say, oh, I understand these things and I'm doing them. I'll never forget, I was chatting with one of my mentors, $1 million mentor, when I was a young man starting my first business. And he asked me a little bit about this business I was looking to create. And every once in a while, as I would share with him ideas, he would give me a suggestion. But as a young 19-year-old, I thought I knew better. So every time he gave me a suggestion, I would fight it. And I would say, I've got a better idea. And I would defend it. Well, he'd kind of nod his head and let me do my thing. And then he'd point out another area where he thought I could fix. And I would defend it again. Well, this went on a few times. Defense, defense, defense. Finally, he stopped me and he said, "You can be rich or you can be right." And you may have heard that statement before. But then he said something I'd never heard before. He said, "My bank account statement is a report card of how well I understand business." And then he pointed out that his was worth several $1 million, and mine at the time was very minuscule. In fact, I think I probably had less than $1,000 in my bank account at that time. So it really showed me that although I understood these things in theory, I didn't understand them in practice. And I also didn't understand them to the depths of being able to construct them into a multi-million-dollar company. I've since learned that. And I think this is a really interesting thing for us to look at, is that we all know that we need a squad. We need a group that can help us. We need a team supreme. We need the dream team. You know, it's interesting, if I look at the history of the world, everything that we kind of think was created by an individual was actually really created by a group. If you think of when Sir Edmund Hillary climbed Mount Everest, a lot of people give him credit as being the first person that climbed Mount Everest. But the truth of the matter is, if you look very carefully, he had a team of people that created the navigational trails for him to follow, people that carried his materials and his packs up the hill, people that arranged for the Sherpas and the guides to walk up the path. And there were others that were with him in that. So it was not an individual effort, it was a group. We could also look at someone like Neil Armstrong, who was the first man on the moon. And Neil Armstrong also did not build the rocket ship in his garage by himself. He had a crew in Houston that was guiding the rocket, and the crew from Florida with NASA that had built the rocket, and all the people that had trained him and prepared the way. And even in the rocket capsule himself, he had others that were with him. It's so interesting that any major venture that has ever been accomplished in the history of the world has been by a group of individuals. And I suppose we could even look at movies, right? Like even the Hollywood movies, when someone comes up and accepts an Academy Award, they always have people to thank. They always have people that they acknowledge that helped them get there. One of my questions for you is, who are you thanking for your success as an entrepreneur? And if it's always returning to you, we need to expand that. If you would like to be successful as an entrepreneur, you need to understand how to become a conductor rather than a constructor. You need to understand how to build a team in these areas that's going to support you. Now, one of the things that I think is really kind of interesting about this idea of building teams is there's a lot of misunderstanding around the idea of building teams as well. Most people have the mistaken idea that it's expensive, that it's time consuming, that there's going to be a lot of mistakes, that there's going to be a lot of errors, that, you know, maybe your customers only want to do business with you. I want to share that the reality is I used to think that way. I used to believe that those were, like, if this is my business, it's my responsibility to take care of all of these things. Well, I'm going to share that while it's your responsibility to be the leader, the captain of the ship, the conductor, if you will, it's not necessary for you to do all the work. There are people that are ready to help you and people that are far more qualified than you that are ready to help you. In fact, it kind of reminds me of a quote that Steve Jobs once said. Steve Jobs, he really understood the importance of a team. And I don't think anyone can argue that he took Apple from a small dream, if you will, that was built inside of a garage. So again, it doesn't really matter how small you start, but he took it to being a massive international brand. And as we know, he left Apple for a time, but then he came back and he made it even bigger than it ever was before. And I think right now we all know that, and possibly could argue that Apple is one of the biggest, most recognizable and utilized brands on the planet. Steve Jobs said this. He said that, he said, we don't hire smart people to tell them what to do. He said, we hire smart people so they can tell us what to do. This has been one of the biggest benefits of my company. You see, I know my areas of brilliance. I know where I'm really good. And when you put me into the right circumstances, I can be highly successful when I'm leaning heavily on my strengths. But the way that I've been able to do that is by hiring people who are better than me in the areas where I'm not strong. In fact, it's been interesting that as I've grown my businesses, that most often by hiring the smartest people, they've been able to create and to position us and to place us into circumstances that I didn't even dream possible. Kind of reminds me of that old saying about business. What would you rather have, a whole grape or half a watermelon? And I think we all know that half a watermelon is much more fruit than an entire grape. But most of us are so greedy and short-minded that we think if we could just hang on to this enough, that one day we can make something big. Well, the truth is we don't have that much time. We also don't have that much influence. We don't have that much reach. And so we need the extra help. We need the smart people. The world is moving at a pace faster than it ever has before. It's also interesting that Warren Buffett was one time asked about some advice on business and investing. And he said that business is not like the Olympics. We don't get extra points for level of difficulty. And then he began to explain that we will step over 1-foot hurdles everywhere we go. We'll take the easy stuff, the low-hanging fruit, right? We don't look for hard activities to do to become successful. We look for the easy way. And the easy way has always been to hire people who have the experience, the know-how, the insight to be able to fill in the blank to take us to high levels of success faster than we ever felt possible. And we only do that when we can concentrate on what we're good at and we can bring in the right people. It's interesting, if you've read the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, there's a really interesting incident in that book where Henry Ford, an experience from the life of Henry Ford, the car manufacturer, was shared. You remember at one point he was accused of being an ignorant person, but he had built this multi-million-dollar enterprise. And this situation, in fact, even ended up in court because one of the newspapers, the Chicago Tribune, I believe it was, published a story about Henry Ford. And he felt it was quite derogatory. And so he took to task to sue them, to have an apology printed and everything else. Well, when they got into the court, Chicago Tribune felt if they could just prove that Henry Ford was an ignorant person, that they would be justified in what they'd shared, and they wouldn't be found liable. Well, as they questioned him a variety of questions, Henry Ford, of course, became somewhat frustrated. And in the end, he paused and explained to everyone that it wasn't necessary for him to know everything. He didn't have to have that specialized knowledge. And then he said this, I quote, he says, "I have a row of electric push buttons at my desk. And by pushing the right button, I can summon to my aid men who can answer any question I desire to concerning the business to which I'm devoting most of my efforts. Now, will you kindly tell me why," he said, "should I clutter up my mind with general knowledge for the purpose of being able to answer questions when I have men around me who can supply any knowledge I require?" I think this is a big challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs, is they're so cluttered with doing all the things that they think are important that they have disqualified themselves from doing the things that are brilliant. I want to point out again that the reason you became an entrepreneur has been to grow your freedom. And again, that includes freedom of choice, freedom of time, freedom of finance, freedom of opportunity, freedom of lifestyle. You've also become an entrepreneur because you want to get recognized for the contributions that you're making to the world. You want to have the status of being an accomplished entrepreneur. You want the sense of being a pioneer. You want to be someone who lives on your own terms, someone in control of your destiny, someone that when you walk into a room, there's a sense of admiration. And lastly, I think the one that we mentioned was influence again, right? This is a word that is thrown around a lot now. But I believe that influence isn't, again, just about how many likes and subscriptions that you have or how many people are following you. Like is a matter of the real influence, the change that you're making. You see, I don't know. I've seen a lot of people with a lot of likes on Facebook, but that doesn't mean that they changed anything. I think when we are true entrepreneurs at a high level, we create legacy, we create impact, we create impact on cultures and charities and communities and customers. Maybe even customers is the most important, and we become massive contributors. So I want to share that I think some of the things that you want as an entrepreneur is to be occasionally recognized as the hero, to have higher status, to have pride in knowing that you've created something, to really create something significant, to have recognition as well with your family, your friends, even your business peers. I think there's also that idea of creating a legacy of giving back. And I think also we started to become entrepreneurs because we wanted to have fun. This is something that we enjoy or wanted to enjoy. We can have unique experiences. We can find life balance. When we do it right, you know, it's funny, we can even become more attractive to the opposite sex. And for those of you who are married right now, you know that when you're a workaholic locked away, it's very difficult for your families, right? Let's bring that back. Let's give you that gift back. Also, the thing that I love about being an entrepreneur, when you really understand how this works, it gives you the confidence and the security and the control of your destiny that you always wanted. Naturally, you also can understand and feel more confident in creating the destiny that you want. and it gives you the ability really to execute this vision. Now, naturally, these things are a result of learning what it's truly like to be an entrepreneur, which again means that we build a squad, we build a team, we build a group that can help us. We build a group that can help us to really display our brilliance and get to the next level. You know, it's interesting. Many people will agree with us and say that this is what is required for their business, but they don't know what to do next. They don't know how to get to that level of creating that dream team, that squad, that elite entrepreneur status for themselves. I'd like to share something that we're about to do, and I'm looking for a couple of people that would like to help me beta test it. We're just launching a new program called Entrepreneur Elite, where I'm going to show you step by step how to literally build a squad in all of the business areas that we've mentioned so that you can regain your freedom, your recognition, and certainly your influence. I want to share that because this is a beta test, we're only going to be taking a few people into this. If you would like to become part of this beta testing group, I'm going to invite you to text me directly. This is my cell. And when you text us, I'm going to have one of our team members contact you to discuss your business so we can understand more. I better get out of the way so you can see that. So we can understand more of what you're looking to accomplish and what you're looking to do. And so we can help you recognize your brilliance and then fill it with a dream team around you that will support your vision of what you're looking to create. Now, I want to mention that just like you, I started out broke. I didn't have any idea about dream teams. I didn't know where to put people. I didn't know how to build the agreements. I didn't know how to work with them. I didn't know how to communicate my vision. I didn't know how to prioritize what pieces I needed to put in place. And quite frankly, I didn't even know what was going to serve me best at the time. We've now figured that out, and we've helped several individuals create six and seven figure businesses. And we can do the same for you. So if you feel like this might be a good fit, there's no obligation. Just text us, and we'd love to ask you some questions about your business and maybe take you on a brief little survey to see where you're at today. And if you're someone that we can help, we'd like to invite you to be part of our beta test. My goal, my mission statement, in fact, I might mention here that I've got my little notebook of what I share my goals in every day. I don't mind sharing you that our company's goal this year, what I would like to do is to create, let me just get to that so I can share it, is I'd like to create 1,000 business owners with a valuation over $1 million. And I would like to break a Guinness Book of World Records for the most millionaires created through a program. So you'd be helping us by becoming part of this beta test to see if we can do this with a company just like yours. So again, I'd like to invite you one last time to be sure to text us if you're interested in more information on this beta program so that we could learn about your business and see if you'd be a good fit, if we can help you build a squad, if we can help you regain your freedom, your recognition, and your influence. 403-714-5191. Text us right now because, again, we're only going to be taking 10 people. And if you're one of those people, I look forward to getting to know you and getting to meet you. Now, I know that we are almost on the minute now for this training. It's been wonderful to be with you. I don't know if Bernardo wants to come back on, but
Sure.
It's been being part of this with you today, Bernardo.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Doug. You're always very knowledgeable, and you come, listen, with a proven track record. So congratulations on all your great programs, on all your achievements, and all the amazing films, movies you produced, and all the things you're getting involved in. So congratulations. You've had a phenomenal career.
Thank you. And we look forward to supporting you guys more. Best You is a great group, and we're honored to be part of the tribe, so to speak.
Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you so much. Well, listen, all the best, and till we meet again.
Thanks again, guys.
Thank you, Doug. Cheers. Thank you, Doug. So always great. And we're going to go to a very quick commercial, and we're going to be back in probably around 3-4 minutes, maybe 3.5. Who knows? We'll just play it by ear. But before I do, I'm going to show you a very quick video. As I was talking about Yuri Revich today. Yuri played. He gave us a live performance. This is just a 1-minute video, but just to calm us and relax us a little bit.
Hi, I'm Bernardo Moya, founder of The Best You. Are you a motivational speaker, an author, a therapist, a coach, or a business guru trying to raise your profile and reach a global audience? At The Best You, we've been building our brand for many years, helping those in the world of personal development get their message out there through The Best You Expos, The Best You Magazine, and The Best You Online. And now we're looking to grow our community even more. We've recently launched The Best You TV, available on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and Google Play. So now by partnering with us, you can get your show on The Best You TV, you can contribute to The Best You Magazine, add your courses to The Best You Online, and join us at one of the Best You virtual expos happening around the world. Expand your brand and join a growing community that believes that everyone deserves a life without limits.
The Best You is leading the way in the industry of personal and professional growth. Through our magazine, expos, e-learning, TV, club, and awards, The Best You's objective is to help people achieve their dreams, to do more, to be more, to live a life without limits. Join us if you believe in helping and inspiring others, in changing the world, in making it a more just and fair place through education and inspiration. Our goal, everyone, everywhere, now. If you are interested in making a difference, working, partnering, volunteering, supporting, or even licensing The Best You, let's talk. Let's work together and make the world a better place.
The well-being industry is worth $3 trillion. Hi, I'm Bernardo Moya, I'm the founder of The Best You, and I wanted to share with you my vision, my dream, the concept of The Best You. The Best You is a multi-platform, global platform. Our first thing is The Best You Expo. Now, we've been doing this for the last 5 years, and over these last 5 years, we've had close to 70,000 people attend, and we promoted more than 700 speakers. Because we filmed every single event, we have more than 700 talks from world leaders, all in one library of content. The really exciting thing about The Best You is our growth strategy. Look, we're going to be running expos all over the world. We've done them now in London and California. We're exploring about running them in Miami. We're looking at running them in Canada, in Mexico. It's just the beginning. So this business model where we will license the Best You Expo will allow us to attract more and more speakers, to attract the biggest brands, to attract all the thinkers that will want to be involved, not only in the local, but in the international reach and approach that we have. This will provide us phenomenal revenue and so much content through all the talks and all the different partners that we will have around the world. And there's so many opportunities for people like yourself, for you to be able to get involved in The Best You now. Thank you so much.
What is life? Your life isn't just about what you're doing now. Your life is the sum of every hope you ever had and everything you ever wanted to be. Life is about the situations you deal with, how you get to where you want to be, and how you become who you want to be. Life is a collection of moments and memories. Life is about being alive, feeling alive. Life is about dealing with whatever fate throws at you. Life is about staying on top when things are challenging. Life is about enjoying yourself, about finding yourself, about leaving a legacy. Life is about looking and feeling good, about staying ahead. It's about being the best you. What you want, what we all want, is a life without limits. So why don't you be the best you?
Hi, everyone. So we're nearly at the end of day one. We still have another speaker that's just going to be joining us very soon. I was sharing the other day something on YouTube talking about giving up. I think one of the challenges that many people have is that they tend to give up too soon. And I was sharing that I can't even tell you how many times I wanted to give up. Every time I do an expo, I always want to give up. And I mean that because it's just so much work. It's just so much work that we put together in order to run these events. And the fact is that, you know, when you're an entrepreneur, you have many dark days and dark moments when you know, business is tough and challenges, and I don't know, the economy, or then all of a sudden a COVID comes and all of a sudden you're having to do, you know, something completely different. So the fact is that, you know, life is tough and life throws things at you. But I was shocked to see that it looks like 50% of people give up their New Year's resolutions by February, which is pretty sad, really. I mean, come on, give it till March at least. But no, a lot of people give up by February, which is kind of shocking. So I really want to encourage you to, you know, to just really review how you see things, and ideally, in order to, you know, in order to achieve things, you have to visualize. You have to have a very big picture in your mind, and it has to drive you towards it. Another thing that I do is I reset. Okay, so when I've had a bad day, I reset. I just know that I'm going to reboot today, and then tomorrow's another day. So it's always good to reset, have a good, you know, visualize, have a very clear picture. And when you visualize and obviously go through all the challenges and the difficulties that you're going to have, the internal dialogue is obviously very important. Whatever you say to yourself, you know, if you're saying to yourself, well, this is killing me, this is just too much, I don't think I can deal with it. Well, that's just not the right language. Well, you know, you've got to say, well, you know, today was hard, but tomorrow's going to be so much better. And yeah, you know, I've been through worse. And you know what, I would actually give everything to be where I am today, you know, and half of the population would probably give everything they have to be where you are. So reframing those situations and looking at why you're going through it. But look, it's what being an entrepreneur is. And I actually I'm going to share a little anecdote that I spoke with Doria, who's going to be my next guest, Dame Doria Cordova. And we were saying that a real entrepreneur is someone that's actually at least gone bankrupt once, or if not bankrupt, has at least lost their money once. Well, I've done it twice, so I'm definitely a great entrepreneur. So I'm going to be introducing Doria. I'm actually going to bring her on if she's ready, and then I will do a very brief introduction and give her the floor. Doria Cordova.
Hola, me encanta cuando me dicen el nombre bien. When my name is pronounced correctly, I love it.
Yeah. So Doria has become a very close friend. She's a very lovely lady. I'm going to read her bio, but I will give my personal touch to it in a minute. Doria is the CEO and owner of Accelerated Business Schools Money and You program, the organization that brought to the world entrepreneurial, experiential, transformational education, now both off and online, since 1979, with over 165,000 graduates from over 85 countries. The program has inspired some of today's best-known businesses, business education, and wealth experts, and has touched the lives of millions globally. We will be putting an announcement basically when she speaks. She does a program that's called Fridays with Doria, and where she basically brings these phenomenal people every week. And I highly recommend that you sign up to her newsletter because you will be invited. But what Doria is just many things. Okay, she is loved by everyone that I have met or spoken to. She is an absolute fountain of knowledge and wisdom of everything. Okay, we had a conversation the other day with Elisa. Now we were talking about Hawaii and the spirituality of Hawaii, and it was beautiful. And we were talking about healing. So you know, she's just a fountain of knowledge. But as I said, very loved. She's a phenomenal connector. So if you are actually have the pleasure and honor of falling on the right side of her, which I would recommend, because you know, Latina, then you know you're going to get some amazing connections coming your way. So enjoy, Doria. Doria, thank you so much for being here. As I said, you're very special to me now, and
Thank you.
I'm very, very, very grateful for you to be sharing something that is so needed, and especially in these times. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. Oh, my God, what a day. What an experience that we're having right now in the world. Let's just take a deep breath together. Thank you. Thank you so very much. I'm actually talking to you from the slopes of the Haleakala crater on the island of Maui. We're very, very blessed. We have two different homes, one's in San Diego, California, and then also on Maui. And when the COVID pandemic is not around, the world is our home. So I have had the honor and the privilege of being around some of the most masterful entrepreneurs and people like Buckminster Fuller. If you have never heard of Buckminster Fuller, you can see right over here. Sorry, right over here. You see this beautiful pictures that were drawn by a graduate of our Money and You program. And Buckminster Fuller was a man who was considered to be the Leonardo da Vinci of the 20th century. He was one of the top 100 human beings that made a difference for Time magazine. He is very well known. For those of you that have never heard of him, you probably would have heard the word synergy. You would have heard about him, Epoch Center in Orlando. Actually, Walt Disney was also a big fan of Buckminster Fuller and literally created that whole park from the spirit of Buckminster Fuller. So I have had the opportunity through the many years, and I started very, very young when I was 28 years old. I attended the first business school for entrepreneurs of its kind in the world. The work was created by a genius by the name of Marshall Thurber, and it was powered by a woman by the name of Bobby DePorter. So everything that I will be sharing with you, there is the little stories have a little lesson behind it. One of the lessons here is for you to always learn who is the power behind the power. And so that is the role that I have played for many, many years, for decades. And I have had now the opportunity to be able to step forward just literally because of COVID. And to get the whole network that we have, the global network, needed a lot of support. And some of the people needed a mamacita like myself, a little grandmother like myself, for some of the very young graduates that we have and their friends. And so I've been stepping more and more forward. But this is a lesson for you. Always meet who is the power behind the power. So I am a smart person. I'm pretty smart, but not as smart as the people that created the work that I inherited. So just remember that you can always inherit work that you can literally monetize, that you can create an economic engine around it. And so that's why today I always like to talk about the Money and You accelerated business success model. You'll have an opportunity. They will be giving you links. You can go to my booth and you can go to one of our web pages and download it. We have it both in English and later it's being uploaded to being in Spanish. And so you'll have an opportunity to be able to read more details about it. But I want to share a little bit with you about this business success model, which actually, once you learn it, you begin to look around and just about every business that you see around you, you have an opportunity to be able to identify the business success model. It is a beautiful, beautiful model that you can learn and you can follow. And you also want to have an understanding that everything is really designed. So the next time you see a masterful movie, next time you pick up a best-selling book, next time that you go to a beautiful restaurant, the next time that you buy something, there is, and it is a very successful business, somebody created that, that created what I called, that model, and they have a certain pattern of thinking. So for those of you who are very, very young, what you want to do is you want to start with the first step, and which is for you to learn from masters, to learn from experts. And so that's what I did at the first business school for entrepreneurs back in 1978 at the young age of 28 years old. My background prior to that had been in the legal field. I used to be an official court reporter in the systems in Los Angeles and also here in Hawaii. Actually, in 1975, I was the first official court reporter on the island of Maui. And so I had an opportunity to be able to be in the criminal court system, in the legal system. Prior to that, I had been an interpreter, English and Spanish. And so for 8 years, I surrounded myself in the legal field with some very, very smart attorneys. Just so you know, I really, really like attorneys that are ethical and that are, really have a heart and know the law, because you're going to need them the more successful that you get. I want to give a big shout out to my friend Michael Pollan, one of the most nicest and the most tough and a really, really good international attorney. That's a mentor of mine. And then there are some other beautiful attorneys that I have. My trademark attorney, Maria Speth, love her, and many others that I have known through the years, many, many. So what I learned in the legal system was kind of like the base of what then, when I fell in love with entrepreneurial education, and it was just being created, I realized that as the years went by, I realized that I was learning from masters. I was learning from experts. And I was taught well by my mamacita, by my auntie, my mama, and other people around me, to always learn until you get really good. And then you can begin to experiment and do things your own way, which could take years and years. So some of you, the mistake, and remember, there are no mistakes, there are only learning experiences. The mistakes that you may be making is to resist learning from people that really know what they're doing. And this takes us to the next place of our teaching, which is be very aware of the ego, be very aware of the machine, the one that has been trained a certain way. Emotional mastery is one of the most powerful tools that you can have in your toolbox. What you want to do is you want to become so aware of your reactions, of the feelings that you're having, on how you react to this, how you react to that, what are the decisions that you're making. And here's another great lesson for you. Never, never, never make any major decisions when you are upset, when you are very emotional, when you are in reaction. You have to cool down. You have to sober up. I haven't drank alcohol since 1988, but I remember part of why I quit drinking was because I had been introduced to a beautiful, beautiful concept, which was emotional sobriety. Emotional sobriety. And it was like this beautiful distinction. I remember getting it and saying, wow, I really want to have that. And it has been a lifelong pursuit of mine. So it's not like I don't have feelings that come up or reactions. Don't think that if I'm giving you that impression. No. I'm very, very human. But I have learned how to have mastery over it so that my reaction, the decisions that I made calculated, I taking into consideration all the risk, all the consequences, all the choices that are made are for the highest good, not only for myself, my beloved, my family, my community, and the world. So it is good for everyone. So what I originally learned very, very young, the Business Success Model, the book that you will be able to download, and that for many of you who will continue working with me, you will learn that we want to learn from masters, and then we want to do a thing called creating a niche or making a niche better than you found it. Better than a good example. There are so many examples that come to mind, but a really quick one would be a mobile phone. The iPhone was the one that made all the, the breakthroughs. And we were also in awe when I first had my first iPhone in 2007, I believe. But it didn't take long for Samsung and other companies to begin to actually become better in many ways. I mean, with my beloved, I have him take the photos with his phone. Now I get it that I can buy the brand new iPhone now, and they have made tremendous improvement out of all the, the talking that we did on how their cameras were really bad. But then I have to buy a brand new one when the other ones cost half the amount of money. So there's a really good example of somebody like Apple created a niche, and then all these other people made things better. That's a very good example that is pretty common to most people. So once you learn from experts, you learn from masters, then you create a niche. And then here is the big word. The word is leverage. What we want to do is I want to make sure that you write this. And for those of us who are spiritual and we meditate in the morning and night and we have mantras, this is your business mantra. Every morning you get up and you ask yourself, how am I leveraging today? You know, is my product or service leverageable? Because if you don't leverage, if you don't understand leverage, you will never be free. And for some of us, not only do we want financial freedom, but we also want to have freedom where we can get up and go when we want to. We have personal freedom, and that we are able to choose that which we want to do. For many of us, freedom is even more important than money. For many of us. Now, for many other people, you know, money is the number one until they have it all. And it's a small percentage of people that are just about money, 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 money. Believe me, a lot of people, we get to a place, and people get to a place where they want to make a difference. That we are not talking about the Maslow scale of needs. And we won't go into that conversation. But trust me when I tell you, money is fantastic. We love cash and making a contribution and doing good, monetizing that, creating wealth, creating an economic engine that can power your purpose, your missions, is probably one of the most delightful, one of the most beautiful things. I have been in entrepreneurial programs around the world for the last 41 years in my own business. Prior to that, an additional 4 years learning for myself. And I have had an opportunity to be able to see that human beings really love fulfillment. They love happiness. The only reason people want to be rich and create wealth is so that they can be happy. And many find out that money was not it, even though, believe me, it's fantastic and it does give you the freedom. But this is the combination. This is what we like to teach. This is what we recommend. This is what we've seen in experience with the tens of thousands of people. And of course, later, graduates like Robert Kiyosaki of Rich Dad Poor Dad, who was my business partner for 9 years. We hung out together for 17 years. You know, the first book of Rich Dad Poor Dad is based on the teachings of Buckminster Fuller, which we teach in the Money and You program. So the other books, pivoted into a lot more real estate investment, which we are not about. We are on the business entrepreneurial quadrant. He's in the investment quadrant. But one of the things you need to understand is that leverage, this is the part that he loved the most. That's what he learned, and the other masters that we have learned from, the rich dads that he learned from, that I also had an opportunity to be with, is actually leverage. So we learn from masters, we create a niche, as we say down under, and then we actually leverage. How do we leverage? Now, this is the thing. Leverage, there are 3 words in any language that are very misunderstood. People use them all the time. Love, leverage, and systems. People really think they understand that. Love is love. You're either loving or you're not, period. Don't get me started on that one. We'll do some advanced courses with you on that one. Systems. Now that is like what I learned in the legal field. That was the foundation. People say, you're so well balanced. Well, yes and no. But I would say that the reason why I am in many ways so balanced, that I love systems. And I'm always looking at how to improve systems. In our Money and You program, in our business school for entrepreneurs, in our online programs that we are beginning to launch, we are constantly speaking about, becoming so successful by using systems. And as Edward Deming, our work is based on the teaching of 4 masters, and of course, synthesized by another master, Marshall Thurber, and powered by this woman, Bobby DePorter. We already mentioned Buckminster Fuller. Another mentor that we learned his work was Edward Deming. And Edward Deming was the productivity genius, and he talked about that 6% of mistakes in business are people. 94% are systems. So what you want to do is you want to start asking yourself, not only in the morning, how am I leveraging myself? How can I leverage my product? How can I leverage my programs, whatever it is that you're about, and what systems need to go into place? And now we move into the next level, which is probably the hardest thing in the world, which is people. When people ask me about people, I have to tell you, the hardest part of business is not money, it's not marketing, it's actually people, dealing with people. Being that I am a people myself, I'm a person, I get it. I totally understand. We come in with feelings, with emotions, with attitude, with opinions, and particularly the younger we are, the more opinions that we have. So what I want you to do is I want you to know that if you're not really good with people, that you may want to surround yourself with someone who is, someone that's going to be able to work with you and your teams, because that's the next step in the business success model. Because first we start with learning from masters and experts. The next thing is we create a niche. We leverage that niche through systems. And now we create a thing called an aligned team. And an aligned team, now here is where all behind me are the core of the teachings of our accelerated programs. We have, of course, I already spoken about Buckminster Fuller, one of our mentors. And then here, of course, is one of his maps, the Dymaxion map. And remember, he's the one that taught us how to move from scarcity to sufficiency to abundance. You cannot skip it. You cannot go from scarcity to abundance. You have to first experience sufficiency. And so now you also, in order for you to be able to lead, to create an organization, to create an economic engine, you also have to be able to work with people and to create a fruit bowl. A fruit bowl. That is, what is the purpose of your business? Mine is to uplift humanity's consciousness through socially responsible businesses. That has led me for decades. Prior to that, I had another one, and it was a beautiful one, which was self-actualization through profitable businesses. But then later, after meeting a beautiful Indian guru, and his whole thing was about uplifting humanity's consciousness. Of course, he could do it just by standing there. I needed a vehicle, which is business and entrepreneurship. And then you need to have missions. One of my missions is to transform educational systems around the world and eradicate poverty and hunger. So one of the byproducts of our work is to churn out social entrepreneurs, and many of them go on and do projects, create foundations that will then help me and become my leverage. You know who one of my biggest leverage on the planet is? Is Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins did our program in 1983. We had an opportunity to be around him for a year. My mentors mentor him. I mentor him on logistics. And I remember he used to have a radio when we first met him. We introduced him to soundboards, and now all you have to do is go to a Tony Robbins event and see that way back in the 90s, he took it to a whole other level, and he is one of the biggest rock stars in his field. And I can't help it. I cannot help it that we were part of that. So now you can leverage, you can leverage your purpose, you can leverage your mission through others. I churn out social entrepreneurs. I'm also, of course, a big part of supporting many, many humanitarians and organizations and people and educating them. Working with them is some of my favorite things to do. And I too teach them this business success model. So now, in order for you to have an aligned team, you have to have a purpose, a mission, and then very clear rules of the game. how you're going to participate together, how you're going to work together. What is your life going to be like together? What is it going to feel like when you work together? How are your clients, your customers, your suppliers, the people that provide services for you? Are you going to be a delight to be around? If not, put somebody in front of you. If you have the kind of product that you just want to be in the back room and moving all the parts, perfect. But you still need somebody to be able to work with people. And then the other one, as you're creating an aligned team, you also have to be very clear on your financial consciousness. When you go to my booth, when you look me up more, you're going to find that I love to recommend to people to do these things called the recovery magical exercises. Why is that? Because you have to have alignment of your prosperity consciousness. If you have people in your team that have a hard time with money, that don't feel deserving enough, that their beingness, their deservability level is much lower than yours, or they just don't want that. They're comfortable. They just want to go ahead and have a salary. They want to have security. They want to have their whatever retirement plan you have. They have been trained by traditional education to get a job, to have a certain number of vacation years, vacation months or days, weeks. Now I'm talking to the Australians. The Australians get a month. In America, we're lucky to get a week, right? Or 2 weeks vacation, depending on what country you live in. So now you have people who are employee mentality. There's nothing wrong with that. As a matter of fact, you can create a system that you can have profit sharing. We love employees, and we love people that want to have that kind of style of life. But for most of us who are entrepreneurs and have an entrepreneurial mindset, or we are on a mission from God, like the Blues Brothers. Do you ever see that movie, The Blues Brothers? It came out, I think, in 1980, Jim Belushi and Dan Aykroyd, the Blues Brothers. They were on a mission from God. Remember that? It's a funny movie, and some of you are going to, when you watch it, you're going to say, I can't believe she recommended this movie. I recommend it for that one part when he's at the church and he sees the light and he goes, the band. And now they became on a mission from God to save the orphanage. Remember that? So I am on a mission from God. And my mission is to train entrepreneurs. And my team's mission is to support me and to support our purpose, to support all these things. And some of them are going to want to be employees, and some of us are going to be the entrepreneurs, and some of us are going to be the support, and some of us are going to be the cheerleaders. And every human being has a place. And as a leader, as you create an economic engine, and you begin to understand human beings, you are going to be a magnificent entrepreneur, or surround yourself with someone who is. So, don't get me started on my conversation about Apple. We used to call them Apple computers. We had an Apple computer store in San Diego, the first one in 1982. I was not at the office. Carol Dyser was when Stephen Jobs came to visit from Cupertino to check out, the first Apple computer store in San Diego. I have had an Apple computer since 1986. Remember the big ones that they were called portable. I have always been an Apple person. I was an avid fan. Until they were not good. They're not that good. I mean, I have had my beautiful computer twice. It's only 2 years old in the shop. It is not what it used to be. And when I studied, Stephen Jobs, oh my God, I was a fan. I used to read all the books and all this and that. And then when I studied him, the challenge that he had is that he didn't have someone that he really gave him the power to deal with people. He did, but he didn't. And so now you read all the atrocities in his life, and then you realize that even though he may have been, very, very wealthy and changed the world, by the time he left this world at 56 years old of cancer, he was not a happy man. So you have to really choose. When you are dealing with people, you have to choose, am I going to be someone that is going to leave such a legacy? And it's not going to be about just changing the world, making a difference, but I'm also would have been a loving human being. And if I don't want to be that, then create a team around you that will be, and compensate them correctly and give them the rewards that they deserve, because they deserve a lot. And for you to continue to do your genius in the back room. Okay. So I'm still working on the business success model. We learn from masters and experts. We create a niche. We leverage that niche. Now, leverage. As I said, most people don't understand what that means. They don't understand systems. And the other one is love. Remember the 3 words in any language, okay? So now you set systems in place that aligned team will create with you, because you can't really do it alone. There's no such thing as a successful solopreneur. There are many successful self-employed people, but there is no such thing as a solopreneur. If you're truly a successful entrepreneur, I immediately want to know who is the power behind you. Sometimes it's the spouses, whether it's a male or female, it's the spouse. And then I started asking questions about who is really running the show, because there's always somebody running the show. It's impossible for you to be the product or be the one that is creating the program and not have a team around you. You're going to have to surround yourself with good attorneys. You're going to want to surround yourself with good accountants, with good bookkeepers, with good systems, and with a fantastic team. And once you have all that together in the mix, you go to the next step of the business success model, which is synergy. And that is the word, again, that was coined by our beautiful mentor, Buckminster Fuller. And Buckminster Fuller is the one that coined that word. So synergy, it came out of him studying nature. We were so blessed. I talked about 2 of the 4 masters, Buckminster Fuller and Edward Deming. Then we were blessed to have also learned from Georgi Lozanov, the creator of experiential learning. So right now it's really difficult for me to be talking to you like this, because I want to have a flip chart. I want to hear you. I want to have interactions, but I'm used to it. We are moving more and more into different technologies, and we are, we love human beings. But right now I'm just, in order to be with you, I'm visualizing. And I hope that you put it on the chat area, in the main area, what you're learning, what you're hearing. I'll read it later. But I'm just thinking, okay, tell me the deepest secrets. How would you like to be able to live your life and be able to create wealth and be so joyous every day? Because we are going to have bad days, right? So this takes us back to the mentors and the masters that we learn from. Georgi Lozanov taught us about experiential learning, and we are the people that put on the map transformational, experiential, entrepreneurial programs, because that is the style of teaching that we have and that we have put on the planet. And the 4th master is a gentleman by the name of Ilya Prigogine, who won a Nobel Prize in the late 70s. And he won a prize in physics for engines. And the word perturbation, the theory of dissipative structures. Now, when I have physicists in the room and have heard me speak like this, they always think it's adorable. It's pretty accurate, but it's adorable, because in physics, it's a very, very different explanation. But basically, this is it. This is accurate, and it's different than you would learn in a physics course. Here is the way that things are. These are the way now that things are coming about. Then you have this reality, this new reality comes in. When they come in, there is a clash that occurs. And so Ilya Prigogine won a Nobel Prize for the actually the combustion and engine. He was able to discover that once you have this combustion occurring, the whatever the container is, whatever the engine is has to have space, because it's always bigger, it's always more expansive, it needs more room. So in the world, he actually changed the whole world on how combustion was being held. So in human terms, you have an old reality, a new reality, they come together, there's a clash, and you go through perturbation. That's what human beings do. We all go through perturbation. There's no human being on the planet that has had a perfect life without stuff happening. And when your team and as a leader, and you are going towards synergy, towards creating results, which are the last two parts of the business success model, it is then when you begin to understand that we have all these feelings, we have all these emotions. At this point is when you're beginning to understand that perturbation, making mistakes, is part of the process. And once you begin to have all that understanding, and you are sober emotionally, and you have all the things that I spoke about, and you begin to now create synergy and synergistic results, it is so powerful. So ultimately, I will quote another friend and mentor from way back, Marsha Martin. In life, you either have reasons why you did not create what you wanted to create, or you have the results that will speak for themselves. And those results can be, of course, money, making a difference, changing the world, creating a new paradigm. It could be health. It could be anything. What is it? Happiness? But those results will speak for themselves. And just so you know, results change as you go through life. Because when you're much younger, you know, financial results are really important. As you begin to advance in life, then you begin to look at health. That could be important. Right now in the world, health is really important. Staying healthy has really become important, no matter how old you are. Some people are not paying heed to this. They're like not paying attention. It's like, oh, it doesn't matter, I'll die. It doesn't matter. Well, I think it does matter. It matters to their families. It matters to their neighbors. It matters to the people around them. So right now, in the time that we are in right now in the world, health is here to stay. For those of you that have health products, health services, like you probably noticed by now, what does she have? You know, I love these LifeWay patches. I absolutely love these patches. And the reason is because they're supporting me staying. They're supporting my immune system. You know, it's supporting me in staying healthy in a way that I desire, you know, to stay youthful, to stay energized, and to boost my immune system. So no matter what's coming my way, my body will be able to handle it. So as you advance in age and you have all these different things that you started with, there's going to be an evolution of your products, of your services, of what you get behind, of what you endorse, of what you become an influencer of. And all along, you are creating an economic engine so that you can have the finances, so that you're clear on whether you are in the process of making money, keeping the money that you made, or growing the money that you managed to keep. So you're either making money, keeping it, or growing it. And they require different dynamics. They require different education. So our work, my work, is designed to have entrepreneurs from, you know, for them to learn from the very first baby steps all the way to when they become so wealthy. What do you do with that money? And then, of course, because I surround myself with masters and experts. And here, I want to really give a big shout out to beautiful Bernardo Moya and his whole team, because they're bringing all these masters, they're bringing all these people together to work with you and to show you and to support you. And, they have all these beautiful booths. Go and check them out. Go and see what they're offering. And there are some beautiful, beautiful masters in this platform. And this is fantastic that you get to be educated for free. I just, I have done a lot of teaching to my own team, to my own group, but it is because of the situation in the world that I now volunteer to speak to as many people as possible so that I can share with them how important it is for them to be able to connect and to support each other, to empower each other. So, of course, I want you to come to Fridays with Doria. Now, some of you are in Europe. This is at 5 p.m. California. The bulk of my network is in the Asia Pacific region. I happen to be in Hawaii right now, which is kind of like in the middle, and then, of course, America. So that's why we set it at 5 p.m. But for those of you in Europe, we have the replays available to you. So Fridays with Doria, I want to invite you every Friday to come and meet all these beautiful social entrepreneurs who love cash, love wealth, love making a contribution. I also want to invite you to go to my booth. There are some gifts there. And then, of course, what I want to do is I want to make sure that you remember this. Whenever you are creating a product or a service, this is a question that you want to ask yourself. How do I make the world work for 100% of humanity? Through spontaneous cooperation in the shortest possible time without any ecological offense or the disadvantage of anyone. I want you to go to my social medias, especially in Facebook. You can download that question, and you will also see it in certain places in Chinese. I have a very big Chinese network. And just remember, the Chinese people are not a representation of the Chinese government. Just like you wouldn't want to be judged by your government, people are people. People are gorgeous. People ultimately love people. They have a beautiful heart. I used to work in criminal courts. I have only, in all the people that I have met, I only met 2 evil people. 2 out of the tens and tens of thousands. And when you are in the presence of evil, you will know. You will have no doubt. And one of them was actually in the courts, when I was a court reporter sitting right there in front of me. And I think that he was put in front of me for me to learn forever, to be able to differentiate that people are all mostly good, particularly people that you might meet in programs like ours and in this program. Bad people do not go and watch the Best You TV Expo, okay? And they don't. They're doing something else. So most people, 99% of the people that you're going to meet, 99%, are going to be good people. The problem that they may have, though, is that they haven't been taught right, that the environments that have been created around them were not designed to bring out the best of them. So that is what we teach. That is what we like people to understand. All the programs, our, Accelerate Business School for Entrepreneurs, that's our 8-day program that we do. We'll be doing it next year, fingers crossed, November 2021, live in Phuket, Thailand. We always have it in the most beautiful places. That is our signature, our, big premier program, the big one. But prior to that, we have books and we have access to cash, the book, and we have the book that I'm giving you, the Business Success Model. We are now creating an online 2-day program that's going to be like the introduction to our live 3.5-day program called Money and You. We have a program called Creating Wealth, which is part 2 of the live Money and You program. We have a program called the Instructors Training Program, where we train people how to be instructors of our work. And then we also have a thing called Powerful Presentations, how to be a powerful enroller, how to present in a way that people are really excited and get to know you, where way you lead with the heart. That's what we're known for. Because really, when it is all said and done, what we really, really love is love. And we also love cash. We love wealth. Why? Because we want to create sufficiency on the planet. We want every child to have enough to eat, enough education, enough medicine, enough refrigeration, electricity. Just remember, when you are feeling scarcity and you're feeling like you don't have enough, make a list of all the things that you're blessed with, all the gifts that you have in your life, all the attributes, all your skill, all the accessibility that you have. Just remember, my new definition of wealth is to have access to network, access to cash, access to expert, access to investment, access to support, access to health systems that can help you during pandemics. So when you begin to really see the accessibility and what this beautiful platform has brought to you, when you have this kind of access, you are already a wealthy person. So even if you're having the worst time of your life, remember you are not alone. And with me, you will have access to all these beautiful masters that I have. Just recently, if you go to my Facebook, you will see that I have been speaking about this beautiful film that my friend Michelle Wilson and Henny Morales have put together to prevent teen suicides, and all these beautiful masters and experts that I have around me. How wealthy are you? And make another list of all the things that you're not good at. Don't do those things right now. Don't do them. Right now, we are in the middle of a lot of perturbation. So what you want to do is stay focused on what you're really good at. Be thankful, be grateful for all the accessibility that you have. Don't do the things right now that you're not good at. You can do those later when the world is the whole world is back to thriving. And that's what we are really working towards. That 100% of humanity has accessibility to the beautiful things that we have, and that many people, there are still billions of people that don't have access to clean water, to education, to health, and to safety, and to be able to feed themselves, families. So how beautiful would it be if you could create product and services that will solve world problems, and you have all the wealth? See, there is enough on planet Earth for you to have everything that you want, but also for you to contribute at such a beautiful level that your heart will sing, that your heart will wake up every morning and go, I can hardly wait until I get to work because I am going to make a difference today. So let's take a deep breath. And let's say, Ho'oponopono. I am right now standing on the slopes of the beautiful Haleakala crater with my beautiful beloved who has been supporting me with all the technical aspects of doing work like this. Connie Benjamin supporting far away, my whole team worldwide. I have hundreds of people behind me, and so do you, thousands and tens of thousands of our graduates that are supporting us with our purpose. And then we have partnerships like we do with the Best You Expo, the Best You TV, the Best You platform that is helping us, that we are in alignment in creating that beautiful world. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing this information with others. Thank you for bringing people to come along and participate through this beautiful 3 days and continue staying in touch with us. Aloha nui loa. Thank you. We can't hear you, Bernardo. You are on mute.
Yes, I am on mute. I was saying so beautiful. Thank you so much. So knowledgeable. So many great connections and people that you've met and know, and you're a fountain of knowledge. And people underestimate the power of that. Well, some people do, not everyone. But I wanted to again thank you and recommend you, to everyone and anyone. Please join the Friday with Doria on Fridays. Because it's just a great what you build there, the amount of people, and I've seen it grow in this a relatively short period of time, but it's just the quality of the people. And thanks to you, I met there Ken Honda, who is now confirmed to speak in Miami, which I'm blessed. And actually, I'm going to play now. Before you leave, because we've got a minute, I'm going to play this because he recorded something for you, and we're going to play it now because it's just right on cue.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ken Honda. I'm the author of the book Happy Money. I am so happy and excited to be part of the Best You Expo. I'm going to talk about how to invite more happy money into your life. Happy money is money that makes you smile when you receive it and gives you joy when you spend it, whereas unhappy money gives you frustration when you receive it and irritation and anger and sometimes despair when you spend it, like paying bills and taxes. In this event, I'm going to share with you the information how to enjoy money more freely and how to create space so you can receive abundance. I'm so excited to see you there. Bye now.
So thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, he's so lovely.
I just want to say real quickly that this is exactly what I was talking about with the business success model. It's about creating happy money. And we met Ken quite a few years ago now at the Transformational Leadership Council, which is, of course, you definitely belong in. And he did such a beautiful job, and he's so humble. And then he had heard of Money and You for decades. And finally, he flew all the way from Japan and attended it in Southern California. And the alignment of spirit, and this is exactly, I want to thank you. I don't know whether you heard me thanking you and your team for bringing in all these people together, all the different speakers and all the booths, for people to really get that wealth. True wealth is accessibility, and having access to somebody like Ken Honda, who is the Tony Robbins of Japan, but at a whole other level. Not only is he inspirational, but financially, and and the way that he deals with money is so in alignment with our work. So all of us, let's get together and just keep making the world work for 100% of humanity.
Absolutely. Well, Doria, thank you so much. Have a lovely day, and aloha to you. Thank you.
Aloha. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, thank you, Doria. Absolutely beautiful. Well, we're nearly coming to the end of the day. We've got a couple of more videos we're going to be playing for you, but we got an amazing day organized for you tomorrow. So I hope, obviously, you're going to join us, because it's just going to get better. It's just going to get better and better every day. So tomorrow, I'm going to give you kind of the lineup, so you've got a feeling. I've got some guests who's going to be joining me. I've got Paul O'Mahony, who's basically is a speaker that's going to be on the main stage. He's got a phenomenal platform all around social media and how to create social awareness. He's spoken to hundreds of thousands of people around the world. We do have obviously quite a few inspiring people videos we're going to be showing you. And then we've got Dr. Fabrizio Mancini, who's going to be joining me tomorrow, which is going to be great. I love Fabrizio. We got an exclusive interview here with John DeMartini. Then we have Marisa Peer. Marisa Peer's in the house. How to permanently overcome any fear. Marisa is considered one of the best speakers, probably the top hypnotherapist in the world. She's got an amazing program called RTT, and she's going to be here tomorrow. So I hope you join us, because it's always going to be amazing with Marisa. She just is so knowledgeable, and she's such a phenomenal speaker. So we then have other things planned for you throughout the morning, because literally we have then Dr. Sonia Stribling, the powerhouse. Dr. Sonia Stribling, who started speaking with us quite a few years ago now. Now she's an international star. I mean, she and Beyonce are just right up there. So Dr. Sonia Stribling is going to be speaking to us. She is just like full of energy. You're going to love her if you haven't heard her before in the past. And then in the afternoon, we got Bonnie. Bonnie was my guest this morning. She's the founder of Binge TV. It's all about TV networks. How can you get that exposure? How can you reach that market? How can you make some revenue? So you're probably going to want to come and see her. And then we got Dr. Kim Deramo. Dr. Kim was speaking today. She's a phenomenal hypnotherapist as well. She has worked, well, she's a doctor, but she's a physician, but she's also been working with the top institutes around the world, great speaker. I love everything about her. She's just a breath of fresh air, really. And then we've got a couple of other talks for you in the afternoon. So I will be speaking to you tomorrow at around 3 p.m. And then we've got a documentary for you we're going to show, which is a friend of mine, Jason Vale, Super Juice Me. It's a phenomenal documentary. It's all about weight loss. It's about how obviously having juices can have a phenomenal impact in your life and change your life. So join me tomorrow, day 2. We're going to be playing, as I said, a few videos today. I want to thank everyone that's been here today. I want to thank my team for their support, their help, for the lack of sleep, lack of payment, and everything else that they get from me. I'm only joking. The fact is that they're always there supporting me. They've been very loyal, and I couldn't do these things without them. So a big kudos to them. A big kudos to all the producers that are working in the small breakout rooms. We've got some new blood joining us in these breakout rooms. So every single room has a producer. Every single room has a host. We've got Adelaide Freeman in the Passions Profit. Christelle Laxon, she's in Empowering Women. We have Laura Butler and Anthony Garcia in the Best for Business, and Tony Boldy is in the Masters, Mentors and Influencers. So I hope you're mingling, having a little look around, chat, engage, go to the booth, connect with people. And look, we're just getting started. We've got another couple of days. So please, if you like it, tell everyone, post it, share it. And again, if you don't like it, don't tell anyone. That is what I say, and I believe it because I believe in honesty and being congruent. So thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow, but we've got a couple of videos. And if not, please go to some of the other breakout rooms, because we still have some speakers speaking for the next couple of hours. Okay, so thank you so much. Take care. See you soon.
Now, the Best You Personal and Professional Development Virtual Expos are happening globally in 2020 and 2021, whether you want to speak, exhibit, or attend. These are 7-day online events for all those passionate about living a better life, creating a better world, gaining greater mindfulness and meaning in these new times, and becoming the best version of themselves. Book your speaking slot, your virtual booth, and get tickets to attend now.
Plenty of internal dialogue going on, I can imagine.
Oh, yes.
Plenty of it. And obviously positive ones. Most
not so much.
No, well, but I mean, you carried on, so they did win at the end. But I can only imagine the silences, those moments of just simply hearing the sea, or just you rowing away. I mean, there was plenty of silence, plenty of time to think.
It's really completely silent, because it's normally like from the wind, and the waves are crashing around, and it was a particularly bad year for weather on the Atlantic. 2005 was a very stormy year, so it was rough. There's something about being that alone. I did talk to my mum for about 5 minutes every day, because using a satellite phone is incredibly expensive. But mostly it was just me with my own thoughts, especially after the stereo broke. And I did spend a lot of the time in a very negative place. Like, all the old demons came back up, the self-doubt, the self-criticism. I beat myself up so badly. Every single day I felt like I was failing. I had massive imposter syndrome. It was, I'm just a management consultant, get me out of here. But I think there's a lot to be said for having enough naive optimism to get yourself into something, to have publicly committed to it, and then having too much stubborn pride to get yourself out of it. Yeah. There were so many times when I would have loved to, I was never actually going to quit, but I think, couldn't my boat just capsize, and then I can call for a rescue? Yeah. I have
a reason.
Yes, I can quit without dishonour. Yeah. But I wasn't willing to abandon my pride so much that I would just go, oh, you know what, I'm overwhelmed. Please just come and rescue me. And I found so many different ways to just keep myself going. Okay. I think so much of success is just not quitting. Yeah. Yeah. And I love that Winston Churchill quote, that success is the ability to go from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. Yeah. I had plenty of losses of enthusiasm, but I still managed to just keep on going. And it was really only in the last few days that I started to think, you know what? I think I'm going to do this. Yeah. Coming back to mindset, I spent a lot of my time asking myself, can I do this? Can I do this? And the way that the mind works is it then goes, oh, let's go check the memory banks and see if we've ever done this before. It goes back through the memory banks and goes, oh, blank. No, we have no evidence we can do this. You know what? I don't think we can do this.
Yes.
And I had a bit of an epiphany one day. I was like, this is a completely bogus question. It's a pointless question. The only way I can find out whether I can do this is to just keep doing it, just keep sticking my oars in the water for 12 hours a day, just keep showing up. And one day I will either have done this or I won't have done this, but that's really the only way I can know.
The Best You Store, helping you do more, achieve more, be more. Store.thebestyou.co.
The Best You Online. Featuring in-depth interviews, motivational talks, and inspiring masterclasses from the world's top experts, motivational speakers, business gurus, and thought leaders. Leaders and influencers from all over the world are here to share their knowledge and skills with you. With over 500 speakers, The Best You Online is a priceless mine of personal development wisdom, knowledge, and practical information to help you take charge of your life and take you, your business, and career beyond where you have always wanted to go. The Best You Online.
Tell me what the Olympics, what they represent, and what it was to represent your country. And
to compete for your country at that level it's just incredible, because it's the peak of anything that you could ever wish to do. So although World Championships, Europeans, other competitions were important, for me competing at Paralympics was all I wanted to do. I competed at 5, and when I think about how many friends and colleagues along the way who were all trying to do that, who maybe didn't even get to compete at 1, to then be at 5 was amazing. And I always remember from my first one through to my 4th, always knowing I was going to do another 4 years, that I wanted that moment again, because it's the crowd, it's you have the best in the world who are there, and it's great, huge pressure. And I remember, before each of my finals, being in the sort of warm-up track, about 2 hours before, thinking, what am I doing here? Am I good enough? You ask yourself all those questions, and that's the point where you have to look back at your training and your preparation and know that you've done everything you could. So I like training. Training was good. I mean, it'd be nice to not to have to do quite as much of it, but the only way I knew I was going to have a chance of winning was to train 15 times a week, was to do everything in my life to make sure when I was on that start line I had the best chance. Because after a race at Paralympic final, you can't say, "Excuse me, can we just do that again, please?" You have 16 seconds, 28 seconds, whatever it is. You have this short space of time to prove that you're good, and you can't go back. The mindset and the drive is hugely important, to make yourself train every day, actually, because there are some times when, if it's -5 and it's foggy outside and you have to do 20 miles training, you're not there going, "Yay, I'm a GB athlete, aren't I?" And that there are moments when you get to train in very nice places around the world, and it's different. But when you're tired and you've got blisters and you're in the middle of a winter training session where it feels forever before you're going to compete again, you have to have something that makes you go out and do the things you don't like doing. Not necessarily the things you like doing tend to be the things that you're good at, but you get most improvement from doing the things that you maybe don't like or not so good at doing. And I think that's one of the things that I was good at, was making myself do the hard graft, because you knew that's all pennies in the bank. It all makes a difference for when you come to that start line. So, you know, my Paralympic career, 5 games, 11 goals, is 19 and a half minutes. You know, I didn't have very long to prove myself. So for me, that's why I trained hard, because I knew I had this ultimately limited time to achieve.
What is determination to you?
Determination is knowing what you want. I think being very honest about where you are now, because you have to know your starting point if you've got a goal, if you're trying to achieve something. And it's about not giving up. It's about doing everything you have to, doing things you like doing things you don't like doing. And there's belief in there as well. You know, if you're determined to reach a goal, there will be points which is really hard and it feels like it's not worth it and you might be going backwards. But you have that belief in yourself that you will get there. And I think probably people who know me, they would be polite if they say I was determined. There's other names I've been called as well, but I think it's that ability to push yourself really hard, to believe that you're doing the right thing.
Are you sick and tired of struggling to get your career to where you want it to be? Working with the right coach can be a life-changing experience, and Bernardo Moya is changing lives all over the world. Learn how to create revenue streams, attract higher qualified clients consistently, market your brand, and promote your business to a global audience. Bernardo is one of the biggest names in the world of personal development. He is an entrepreneur, an author, a speaker, and a founder and chief inspirational officer of the Best You Corporation. So fast track your career now